Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a live stream with P0intL3ader75. Today we're going to take a look, well, I just fly a little bit casually, basically. Not going to do anything special, just mapping my new Rhino HOTAS, somewhat close to my likings. Hang on, I hear myself twice because I'm also watching this stream. There we go. Alright, so checking whether the sound levels are going to be fine. Should be fine. We're currently in a by a small lake in a French little helicopter. Nice looking helicopter. And we're about to take a flight in areas not too far away from where I live in northern Sweden, about 4 hours and 30 minutes of drive north of Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. And I think I have everything mapped. Yep, my light works. Let's have a look. Does this one work? It doesn't show. Oh well, it's fine, we're gonna just leave it on. So everything is on super realistic now in terms of dynamics, airflow and what have you, and all things, like all the three controls that you need to sort of know your way around. So like if you pull your collective, you basically get the cyclic and the torque pedals affected. So any input on either three of these collective, cyclic or torque affects the other two. So that's basically how actual helicopter flight works. So especially if you want to have it that real, you definitely want to have it on par in terms of your setup, so that it actually does so that it actually does the thing, right? I suppose. Alright, so yeah, as you can see, for better or worse, you know, but let's just hope that I spelled things right there in the bottom in terms of my rolling text or info. I think, let's see, I gotta see where I'm at. I think I know where I'm at. So look at the heading. West, okay, so that would be north basically, alright. And that's south. Hang on. Yep, alright, I just had to take a look. Alright, so we are basically, yeah, coming in over this area over here. Let's see what that is. It's always interesting to take a look in the areas. You usually just drive by. You don't necessarily take a side turn and have a look around, which I'm definitely going to do once I get my car back, which by the way is still at the workshop. It's been well over 3 months now since it broke. And well, there's that. And the second part obviously has been that even though I have a partially coverage, or for the most part coverage on a rental car when I need it from the insurance company, it only covers for 60 days. So you can imagine 3 months, well, that basically had me had to rent a second car for my own money basically, so without any insurance coverage. So it's been a pretty expensive period so far, and we still haven't been able to pick up the car from the workshop yet. They are running into issues in terms of calibrating the MCU. I think it's called MCU or ECU. I think it's MCU because it's or ECU. Well, it could be but the control unit for the car basically, which was busted due to moist and water damage basically. So you can imagine them having to pull that one out and send it to a specialist, and then them had to find a used part, which isn't very cheap either, and then having to clone my old broken part, and then it's been sent back to my workshop, and now they're trying to calibrate it, and they also try to repair, well, they actually repaired a broken ABS ring on the axis at the rear, so that I don't have an ABS light on the dash. I shouldn't have it anymore. It broke about last winter when ice pretty much froze the whole thing and just dinged up the whole configuration, basically. Just snapped it in half, so... Well, not snapped it in half, but you know, like... Well, pretty much broke it anyway. So yeah, I'm pretty much looking at about... Well, basically like... 4,400 euro, give or take. Repair cost now for the car, plus the rental cost, which is another additional 1,200 euros, so it's getting pretty expensive. So it's rough. We can manage, but it's rough, that's for sure. Especially out here on the countryside. I mean, as you can see here, it's just forest everywhere. And the closest highway for us, where we live, is like a little bit about an hour away from us. So other than that, it's just country roads like this for about an hour before we get to any highway where I live. So you definitely need the car. I mean, we do have transportations like or communications like buses and such, but you can definitely say that don't count on it, because like if conditions are okay, you can sort of like catch a bus like twice an hour in the best case scenario, usually only once an hour. And if conditions are like they are now, where some of the parts on the countryside here aren't even plowed and newly fresh fallen snow and all that, I'd say the chances or the risks that you're not going to see any bus that you're waiting for is going to be slightly higher. Yeah, you definitely need a car. So that's that. But at least now, me marching into the workshop lately, and I just told them the fact that, hey, I mean, this is unsustainable, you know, like I gotta have a car. I mean, I can't choose not having one. And the fact that me having a loaner car or rental cars for something taking this long, I mean, you can imagine. It started to cost a lot more than what typical for a low income after tax, or even a pension even. So you can imagine that's a lot of money to pay just for the rental cost, and then you haven't even begun to think of the cost for the actual repair of the car. So I just stormed in there last Friday and just told them that, hey, I mean, this is unsustainable. I gotta find another solution. Either you guys allow me to have your car that you usually just lend out for over a day or so that at least I can return my rental car and save that cost, you know. And like 20 minutes before closing time, because I had to go back, they said, okay, we're gonna call you back and see what we can fix. So about 20 minutes before closing time last Friday, I got a phone call from them saying, okay, we're gonna let you have our car for as long as you need it. And well, I mean, 20 minutes. It takes about 50 minutes for me to get downtown. It's not even a town. It's more like a I don't know what to call it, but it's definitely not a town. Well, it's sort of like a small village town-ish. But yeah, I did it. I made it in time, and I picked up the keys for their car, and then I returned the rental car, and then I had to walk for like 50 minutes or so to pick up their car that I finally got to have instead. So a little bit of a less stress, for sure. And well, that's where we're at now. Still waiting for the car. Come on. What? The controls are a little bit wonky. There we go. Yeah, so I picked a little bit better conditions in terms of lighting. I mean, obviously I could have picked a live environment, live weather, live time, and what have you. Still a bit dark outside. Well, it's not dark anymore, but it's dark enough to not be ideal for streaming anyways. It is usually, when it's as darkest here, we usually get about a 2 hour light, or 2 hour of sunlight at the most. And it's just slightly above the horizon usually. And that's pretty much it. And we're still talking about just halfway up the country. So if you're, let's say, going from all the way from the southern tip of Sweden to where I'm at, you'd pretty much be just above the middle of Sweden. So you can imagine, way up where a buddy of mine lives, it's pitch dark for a month or so. You don't even get to see the sun for a month. But it's a very diverse country, about 4 climate zones, top to bottom of Sweden. It's about, I'd say if you put Sweden on top of the USA, starting from the southern tip of Florida, you end up somewhere in the Michigan Lake. Or, no, actually close to Ontario, the Lake Ontario, where the Niagara Falls are, close to the border between US and Canada. That's about how long Sweden is in terms of the length of the country. So it's a long country. Third biggest country in Europe, if you don't count Russia, of course. Or maybe if you count Russia, I can't remember. But I mean, it's a long country, not as wide, but it definitely has a lot of length to it. That's for sure. It takes about 24 hours, 25 maybe, if you drive non-stop, which you of course wouldn't do, say from the very southern tip to the very northern infrastructure, because it's not entirely built in the very northern part of Sweden, due to a lot of nature reserves and what have you, and sparse population as well. So there's only like 1 or 2 actual main roads, I'd say, if you go really up north. And yeah, that's about that. So you couldn't really get, like, you could go to Kiruna, but that would be the most northern city, sort of. But obviously there are going to be villages and communities above that maybe, but still though, I mean, we're looking at a very tight and sparse environment, sort of like tundra. Alright, so these are going to be the well, we are actually a little bit offset, I can tell. So yeah, I just figured I'm going to stream a little bit just to, you know, let you guys know that I'm still around, I'm still alive. It's just been a very stressful, well, life situation, as you would have imagined, especially with the car and everything, the last week or 2. So I've had a lot of things on my mind, that's for sure. But slowly starting to sort itself out, I hope. And I get to see my old dear car again, hopefully soon. Get to roam about and enjoy my rumbling V8 sound of the E500. And on top of things, it's a Mercedes, so I mean, air suspension and what have you, all that shebang, so it's definitely like riding a flying carpet compared to anything else. I mean, you can't really, you gotta experience a air suspension to be, and a good one, because there are a ton of air suspensions out there, it's just that not all of them are good, so there's that. But yeah, like I said, it's gonna be nice to ride on a carpet again. Especially on the country roads here. Sometimes you got these nasty potholes everywhere. Like potholes bad enough to actually ruin your suspension, and even tires for that matter, like flat tires and what have you. If you're not careful and not knowing about them, you're definitely gonna have a bad day. Alright, so you can imagine I also use Tobii Eye head and eye tracker. allowing me to turn my head freely. No wires or cables to think of, which is very nice. If you look at equivalent solutions like TrackIR5, for example, although that one is a little bit more responsive, you know, like the response a little bit better, has a better or less of a lag time to it. But well, that's about that. But the fact that you don't have to wear anything on your headset or cables everywhere, the fact that you can even track your eyes, which you can't on the TrackIR, it's actually quite a nice addition. Alright, so let's have a look. I mean, I have a map here. Let's see if I can bring that up. See where I'm at. Alright, yeah, I'm a little off here. Not just a little off, I'm actually quite off. I think I'm quite off. Am I? Because I'm about to head up. I'm all about here, right? Well, it's not too off, but I'm gonna follow the road. Usually that's the best idea, especially with Flight Simulator 2020, that you can actually follow the roads. As long as you know your way around, you're gonna be fine. I'm not gonna exactly show you where I live, but I'm gonna be in the close vicinity, like a block away at the very most. But yeah, obviously this is sort of like a warmer temperature scenario that you can see now, because now we have about, I don't know, half a foot of snow at least, which would be about 12 centimeters, give or take. Well, 12 to 15 centimeters of snow. It's about minus 7 degrees Celsius in real life outside, so it's quite a nice angelic white snowy landscape that we have currently. We're going to be leaving this town called Delsbo. Well, actually we're coming in over Delsbo now. Small community. Say, could it be like 20,000 people here maybe? No, well, not even that. Nah, 15,000 maybe. At the most. I'd say probably less, way less. I'm gonna have to ask my wife about that. Don't quote me on that one. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna continue down the road. This is usually the road I take when I want to go to the slightly bigger town called Hudiksvall. You're gonna see it on the map of Sweden, about north of Gävle or Gavle or whatever. Like you guys don't have the A with the 2 dots above, but that would be pronounced Gävle in Swedish. And well, there's that. We're gonna take a follow there. I don't know. I think I'm pretty off here. Hang on. Yeah, I'm pretty off. I'm going the wrong way. I'm definitely going the wrong way. What am I doing here? Me yapping. Going the wrong way. Can't have that, right? It's pretty handy to have things mapped on your either throttle or stick. Especially when flying helicopters in ultra-realistic actual flying mode. You don't necessarily want to take your hands off either the throttle or the collective or the rudder or your yoke or your cyclic. Oh, what am I saying? I'm using flight terms here. It's supposed to be helicopter terms, though. So for helicopter terms, it's not called throttle, it's not called stick, it's not called pedals or rudders. It's actually called something completely else. So for the rudders on your helicopter, it's actually not rudders, because you don't have any rudder. You have a torque converter that compensates for the torque that is being generated by the main rotor. It's not a propeller, it's a rotor. So by having the rotor compensated by the tail rotor, you have to apply torque. Hence the name torque pedals. So that's what it's called, torque pedals. Then in terms of the stick, in a helicopter it's actually not called a stick, because you are cycling the dish, which is going to be your lifting wing, or the rotor wing that you have above you. You're tilting that one by cycling it. So that's why it's called the cycle stick, or the cyclic, which is going to be your joystick basically. And then to pitch the actual angle of the blade of the rotor here to generate lift or less lift, that's where the collective comes in. And then you have the throttle, but the throttle is actually that little thing on the tip there which you rotate. But that's usually taking care of the governor, which automatically adds or reduces the throttle depending on the conditions to better balance lift versus torque versus throttle. Now, in old days, like, you'd have to take care of all of that yourself. But it's a good thing we're not in the old days. Alright, I'm going to try to figure out which turn I need to take here to get to where I need to be. So I need to be coming back to the main road here. Yeah, I kind of think now. I think I kind of do. Huh. It's funny how different things look from when you're approaching things from above. Just mind-blowing. What an insanely awesome world we live in that way. Yeah, so here, I think this one is a church. Oh, it gotta be, obviously. Well, that's the thing with churches in Sweden. I mean, we have cathedrals, not just that many. Definitely not as many as being presented in Flight Simulator, because in Flight Simulator, everything being a church in Sweden is presented as a huge cathedral. Which we do have, like I said, but usually a lot of churches in Sweden, especially the older ones, are usually old chapels from the beginning, like from the 900 and the year 900 or even older sometimes. Over the years been rebuilt and or expanded or what have you. So that's usually where the churches in Sweden come from in terms of sizes, and unless you're in Stockholm maybe or in a big cities. But we usually don't tend to see cathedrals here in Sweden. Usually it's just a small church at the most, or even smaller than that, chapels. In old traditional styles, of course. It's not like those modern chapels. We do have them as well, but that's usually not the church. That's usually like the Easter movement or the those kind of new sect-ass church, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna take it all the way here, so I'm just gonna have us land somewhere, and let's try to see if we can find another nice location in the world to just explore. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll just fly where our heart feels like going. Bunch of small communities on the countryside popping up now and then, but for the most part Sweden is mostly consisted of farmlands and for the most part forests, agricultured forests. We don't have too much of the old wild forest that used to. Most of it is gone. I mean, it does exist, but most of it is cultivated. Alright, so we have landed. Oh, let's just turn everything off. and the rotor brake. Obviously you wouldn't do this soon. You'd brake the gear. So that this adds more resistance to the rotor. There you go. Now we can let it go. Alright. So let's pick another location. And let me just reset my view a little bit. Alright. Let's just wrap things up in a nice location. How about trying... I mean, obviously we're going to have to manipulate time. It's either too late or it's just too early in the morning. Wherever we go, really. So, but we're going to go someplace. That's where I took off, actually. I live up in this region here in Ljusdal. But not in Ljusdal, but about 10 kilometers away. So, let's just go to some cool place. How about... if we go to, yeah, we could go to, how about New York? Manhattan. You know, that's always a cool place to be at. We have a couple of options here, especially being in a helicopter. We can take off from Lower Manhattan, the business district. So that's departure, and we are going to make sure that we have the correct time so that it's actually nice conditions, right? About noon, so we're going to have a higher pitch or higher angle of the sun. So excuse me for any future noises here. I'm just going to take a little sip of my drink here. Getting a little bit of a dry throat here. Having my zero sugar Coca-Cola next to me. You gotta become prepared, you know, whenever you're gonna do streaming. It could be for an hour, it could be for 10 hours, it could just be for a minute. You never know. So it's gonna take a little extra time now to load in, because we have a whole different part of the world to load in and load out with another one and all that stuff. Performance-wise, obviously the PC is about to turn 10 years old now, but CPU fan is new and replaced. CPU is still a 16-thread CPU, so it's gonna handle for a while. And the DDR4 memory, I upgraded it recently to 128 gigabytes of 2666 memories. It's not as fast, but my old motherboard couldn't handle any faster. So 128 gigabytes of that, and then obviously a 4060. So it's not going to be like a 4090. It just feels, even if I could afford it, it just feels a little bit of a waste of money, because I'd rather put out the series money on the 50 series once it comes out. But until then, at least I'll have a up-to-date series of NVIDIA card, as opposed to my old Titan X, like 10-year-old card. So there's that. Alright, welcome to Manhattan. Checking left and right, make sure everything is clear, and apply a little bit of right rudder. As this is a European helicopter, the rudder turns to the left. American helicopters, it's the opposite, so that it's a usual left rudder takeoff. Now obviously you're applying right rudder, you also want to tilt a little bit to the right when you cycle it to compensate for the input. Like I said, all inputs affect the other two. And Brooklyn Bridge. And it's going to be a little bit laggier whilst it loads in. Come on, don't do this to me. Let it load in. Well, that's the thing though, I do have a, I think I have this flight sim on either one of my 1 TB SSDs, pretty much dedicated for just gaming. Then I have a terabyte SSD drive as well, but that one, not sure whether this one is on that one, because we are now currently suffering here from a little bit of stuttering. Let me have a look, see what we can do. I'm sorry guys, we're gonna do this on the fly. What we could do, because it could be due to some of, let's see. As you can see, I'm actually using a different format than as of what you guys can see, because you only get to see 16:9, although I am cropping the stream so that you guys get to appreciate it from a normal aspect ratio. But on the other side, that's what I'm actually using. I'm going to see if I can just turn off VSync. I mean, yeah, it does affect a lot in some cases, sorry. And HDR could do things as well, but I'm going to leave it on. I kind of like the high fidelity of things. Try and level of detail, I could maybe, because I mean we're talking about New York as opposed to sparse Sweden, right? Let's just go down to 150. And this one maybe object level maybe 100. I don't know, 115 maybe. Let's see. It might take a while though before it takes effect, but everything else is pretty much on high and not necessarily ultra, because there's really no big difference there, unless you may be going on a system with 4K capabilities, you know. But even then, I mean, it wouldn't make much sense, especially not on YouTube even. Come on. Oh, okay, that's crazy. Yeah, it definitely does not like New York. Yeah. It does not like New York. I don't know, guys, if this was a good idea. Well, at least you guys get to hear me flawlessly, hopefully. But as you can see, my system struggles over New York. At least for now. I don't know, I mean, I could maybe. Let's see, it does take a while for me to get any response as soon as I click on it as well, so. Let's see, what we can do. Yeah, or we just go back to some easier area to fly over, but I just want to make sure that I can actually appreciate. I mean, I don't think it's going to be this either, because I have 600 megabit connection, so it wouldn't be the downstream. But I mean, we could use a rolling cache, why not? I have quite a lot, and then obviously I want to pick a place or a path, which you guys can't see, but I'm going to pick a path. I'm going to do that on one of my bigger drives, like one 8 terabyte drive, I think. So I'm going to call it MSFS 2020 rolling cache. So that way, whenever I go back here, it's going to be stored in the cache. And I'm going to pick that. So there you go. That's just the and so let's say we want to. I got pretty good space in that one. So how about 2 terabytes, right? So well, 2,000. Oh, this is going to be in gigabytes. So 2,000 gigabytes. That's a big cache, but at least now it's going to take a while. So while it does this, I know, guys, it's going to take a while to do it 2 terabytes. I should have gone for something smaller. Well, done is done. Anyways, guys, I think we're going to cut it or call it for today. And hopefully we're going to be coming better prepared next time. But until then, I am signing off. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and the notification bell and all that shebang so that you don't miss out on future content. And I'll be seeing you in the next one. I'm signing off. Peace out.